It's live on lockdown time once again as we start to tick our way through some of the superstars of now and of the future. This guy, I've been trying to talk to him for a long time. He was dominant 2 seasons ago on the 85s. No one could get on his wheel. Last 2 seasons has been on the 125s. He goes undefeated round 2 coming out of the GXCCs. Matti Wilson is our next guest on Live on Lockdown. Matti, thanks for joining us on a very, very cold, very chilly day.
How's it, man? Yes, thank you for having me today.
I see you in the garage there with the door open, trying to get a little bit of warmth, but I'm sure you're shivering your little bits off there.
Yes, no, it's freezing in the garage today. Got my little blanket here and just trying to stay warm.
So, dude, I mean, let's talk about what you've been up to in the lockdown, and then we'll start talking about the history. I mean, for you guys, I always say the 125 high schoolers, you guys are the craziest gate out there. So, I mean, you went literally undefeated on the season, and then just someone pulled the handbrake on you. You must be just absolutely dying to get on the gate again.
Yeah, no, the racing season was going very well for me at the beginning of this year. I don't think I've really lost a race except for the EWXC this year and the national Offroad in Lesotho and national Enduro in PE. But we were doing very well in GXCCs and Farm Jam, and then all of a sudden lockdown hit us and now we are where we are.
So what have you been doing to try and keep yourself busy? I know you're out there in Benoni, so you can kind of tiptoe out to the farms. Well, now you can, but in the early days, I'm sure you guys were extremely restricted. It just kind of stuck doing a bit of school and a bit of home gym training, eh?
Yeah, no, so at the beginning of lockdown, they sent a load of schoolwork out, so I've mainly been doing schoolwork. Margie Smith, my personal trainer, she sent us out programs to do workouts and everything to stay fit. Then eventually about the 3rd week, we were like, no, we have to go ride. So we quickly snuck out down into the farmlands and rode all the way to Pretoria and haven't stopped since.
Well, there you go. Because we are going to go racing. It's just no one knows quite when. I keep seeing all the announcements from the ministers, and it's all like, yeah, you can go practice, but we can't go racing yet. We're all going to be pro practices anymore. We're not. No one's going to have a race contract anymore. We're just pro practices.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Even
Matti,
just going back to a track.
Yeah. I see everyone the last couple of weeks has started to get out to the tracks, which is super cool. But just for the sake of the lockdown chat here, let's go back to the very beginning. And I've been laughing because your dad, Derek, has been sending me some old school pictures. I mean, do you recognize this guy from back in 2013? Do you remember this kid?
Yeah, very small, eh?
I think I was talking to the old man, and I actually battled to remember you back then, because obviously that might have been, I was probably on the mic or doing a little bit of commentary, but you know, you were back on the 65 gates, and back then 65s was quite a small situation. It's not like the 65s is now. 65s at the GXCCs is one of the biggest lineups, but back then it was quite small.
Yeah, no, when I was on 65s, I can only remember 2 riders that was my competition. Hayden Tully is one of the motocross riders, and Carl Branson. Actually, we've gone all the way back from then till now. And yeah,
I was actually thinking how many of you guys actually came through together. I know a hell of a lot of you guys kind of went all the way through to 85s. Not all of you made it straight across to the 125s, but I know Branson and O'Hara, you guys were always riding together.
Yeah, no, we've always been riding together and having great times with each other.
Those early days then, 65s, everyone knows that that's the development, and you're just kind of waiting to get a little bit taller to go race on the 85s. And you just seemed like one of those guys that you were on 85s forever. Like, I think you were almost on 85s longer than Ryan Peltzer at one point.
Yeah, no, we actually bumped up to 85s as soon as possible. We weren't expecting to get anywhere quick, but we came to the first GOC in 2015 still, and I was surprised with myself. I came out and actually won the race.
And those days, like you said, the 85, that was the small wheel 85, so the junior 85s. So when you were still probably just big enough to actually put your feet down on the things as well. So that's where it started to get a little bit busy. And if I remember those days, you were just racing the off-roads. I don't think you'd gone across to the Enduros yet, had you?
At that point, back in 2015, when we just jumped up to the 85s. I didn't know what enduros were, what rocks, riding mountains was. I was just an off-road rider and just enjoying life there. Then when we got introduced to the rocks, I was like, okay, this is a new competition to do.
Yeah, that's the tricky bit as well. I mean, you look at a couple of riders. I think it has to. I have to go back something like 3 or 4 years now to remember when Heinrich, a good pal of yours, actually made that split between the off-roads and the enduros. And you kind of didn't make that decision. You were doing both the whole way through, but the results were definitely better on the off-roads.
Yeah, so Heinrich, he started doing EWXCs, I think it was back in 2017, and then he just started getting better and better at them, and then he just decided off-road's fun, but enduro is my path. So he decided to take that route, and then I wanted to do enduro, but I'm still in love with off-road, so I want to do a bit of both. So yeah, just stuck with my off-road and had fun in the rocks.
There was a big team back in those days, 16, 17, I think 15, 16, 17, that Rad Juniors Moto team where Branson was on it. But you were always kind of like out there by yourself on the Roost program. How did that all come about? Was that, the Roost seemed to be looking after you for a long time?
Yeah, no, so Alistair Drennan, one of our good mates still, he introduced us to racing, and he was with Roost at the time. And then during the time with him, pitting with him and everything, Roost, Uncle Ron Bailey, he just saw us and he's like, no, let's try give this Rad team a bit of a go. And he got me on board, and I just did my best for the team and for him so I could just beat them.
Yeah. You were doing good numbers 2016, 2017. 2017, you had a good year. I remember chatting to you quite a lot down in the pits. That's old, I think that's Mully down there from, that would have been Mully's Kings of Dirt program. That was before we started doing the TV, but I'll have probably been down there on the mic. But those years kind of got you in a position, and then the whole Husqvarna thing started to happen. And that was really where you had your breakout year in 2018, hey?
Yeah, no, so in 2017, Heinrich and I, we were going at each other the whole year. Like, it came down to the last race. Whoever won that race, it was going to be they would have won the championship. Then Carl Inston was watching me throughout the 2017 year, and he was like wanting me to come on board with him and Fred from APC at the time to join their team with Husqvarna and Holshot. So then we decided, we were talking about it, thinking about it, and eventually we were like, yeah, okay, let's move over to the Husky. And in 2018, still good competition. Carl Branson, Jordan Cowley, Dumal Duplessis, all very fast people, and I was just lucky enough to almost not lose a race that year.
Yeah, like I say, I would say probably 2017, then, to correct my previous statement, 2017 was your breakout year, but 2018 was your dominating year. And it was tough competition. And I would probably say that year, of all the years you've been racing, you traveled the country flat. You raced every weekend, didn't you?
Yeah, no, 2018, it was crazy. We raced down in Cape Town, Ikopo, everywhere that year. It was crazy.
Because you were mixing it up. You were nailing down the GXCC Championship and the T-Bones. Graham Hedgecock was doing that great initiative with the junior development, which it seemed to have kind of tailed off a little bit. But that year, 2017 and 2018, was great for the junior development. We saw a lot of good kids starting to come through, didn't we?
Yeah, no, to be honest, with Graham Hedgecock's program with the T-Bone Racing Initiative and everything, I think that got a lot more of children's riding perspective up, and they got better and everything. So he did a great thing there for the junior riding community.
You got there in the end, don't worry. And then I suppose 2018 was a nice way to say goodbye to the little wheels, hey? Because you probably doubled in height in that season. You started off the year, you were kind of like 5 foot nothing, and you're almost 6 foot come the end of that year. So it was a good thing that you made that move to jump up to the 125s. But first year on the 125s was not easy, because 2019 125 high school gates was one of the most stacked fields I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, no, Matt. moving up to the 125 in 2019 with a gate like that, I'll be honest with you, I was I was a bit nervous to line up with that competition over there. It was like flipping fast, but took race by race. Actually, the first race in 2019, I'm very bad at hole shots, but I got the hole shot that first GXCC, came into that second corner and I laid it down. Couldn't believe it. I was dead last coming out the last corner of the start.
Just take us through the start actually of a 125 high school, because I do say that you guys are the crazies, and I stand by that statement, because it's the guys that have just jumped up from the 85s. They suddenly have an extra like 40 horsepower or whatever underneath them, or CCs at least underneath them. And it is nuts. I mean, we've seen a lot of guys come across from motocross onto the 125 gate, and there's probably in the 2019 season, there was probably 8 or 9 of you that could win a race every single time we went out.
Yeah, I know. To be honest, like I say, last year was extremely tough, but everyone was there. We had Ryan Pelser, Lo Pretoria, Storm Falloon, Nardis Rabi, Davin Cocker, Carl Branson, Josh Johnson, then the list carries on. And just going throughout the year, the guys got better towards the end of the year. Like Ryan Pelser and we were dicing the whole year, and then towards the end, he just left me. I couldn't believe it. And then it was crazy. So yeah, the guys definitely didn't slow down last year. They definitely got faster and faster throughout the year.
And then before we start looking at some of the footage for 2020, were you as surprised as I was when you turned up for 2020 and went, okay, let's do this? And you looked around and everyone bought 250s.
To be honest with you, I was actually quite disappointed that everyone had left and that still had a few competition from 2019, John Buerta, Josh and them. But I was ready to race again this year, and just sadly, all the very, very fast guys left.
Yeah. No, it's I can see the competition is coming on, and there's 1 or 2 guys that I think will develop into real championship contenders. But yeah, I mean, you ended off 2019 with your injury. You obviously trained through the off season, and the rest of the guys came in, and there's a couple of names in the top 5 that I'm still trying to get my head around. I knew about John Buerta, I knew about Josh Johnson, but Josh, he smashed himself up pretty early this year, so that was him out, almost from the end of round number 1.
Yeah, no. So Josh, he got to round number 1 GXCC. Actually, I think he might have got 3rd place there. He did well.
Yeah, he did a good result, and then the next farm jam he smashed up.
Yeah, farm jam, he decided to take a tumble before the race even started, and he fractured his wrist. And then, yeah, like you say, I do believe John and Carl McKenzie, and now Derek Caron's coming back also after his injury. I want them to definitely get faster and try and beat me. Well, obviously they're trying, but like I want to have them on my wheel the whole way through.
Yeah, I've been pretty sad to see your teammate and friend, because he was kind of following in your footsteps, Carl McKenzie, because last year he killed it on the 85s, then moves up to the 125s, and I don't think he's finished a race yet this year, the poor kid.
Yeah, no, Shave, first round he actually took a bit of a tumble and hurt his head. Then at Vogtval he seized his bike sadly, and I still believe he's going to be quite fast. Just he needs to get the ball rolling for himself.
No, I can see it. He's going to be on you pretty soon, man. On you pretty soon. Take us through those first couple of GXCC rounds. Then we were just seeing the footage there from round number 1. That was the opener for the season, the earliest GXCC we've ever done, and a tight track, and some would say custom made for the 125s. But I know the power delivery on the 125s makes the wheel spin a little bit, so it probably wasn't the easiest race for you. Even though you won it, it probably wasn't easy as far as the terrain went.
To be honest, round 1 for me, I loved it. It was one of my favorite tracks I've ever had to race, and with Vian doing the track routing for GXCC this year, he made it amazing for the 125s. Even though we do spin a bit out the corners and it was a bit tough, I do believe it suited a 125 pretty well, because towards the end of like lap 3, I was catching up to a lot of the 250 oaks, or 3 oaks. And my Escavano 125 was going great that race.
Yeah, that had to feel good. And then you came up, I think, 2 weeks after that, and you were hanging up with us at the Farm Jam. And Farm Jam's a bit of a weird setup for you on a 125 because it's hard to actually know which gate to line up. And I think you were racing something that they call the Pro Bs or something up there at the Farm Jams, which means you kind of line up with a whole bunch of different size bikes. But I remember you top threeing it at the end of the day against all kinds of like 450s and 350s and everything.
Yeah, no. So actually, Farm Jam, they changed this year to very similar to the GXCs. They have O1 with the 450s and 500s, O2 with the 350s, and O3 with the 250s. No high school class though, so it was quite tricky which class to join. So I took a bit of a risky move and I chose O2 with all the 350s. Throughout the day, I didn't get the greatest start, but that was a very, very fast race. So you just had the 350s flying past you the whole day. But on the last lap, I could actually see first position quite close to the end. And I was just pushing as hard as I could and I actually passed MV Pretorius like on the third last corner before he came into the pits, and I actually took the win there, luckily.
Yeah, man, because MV is rocking a 350, and then up the road there was probably only Kenny and Airtime that actually beat you on the track. So yeah, some good numbers.
Yeah, no, this MV is very fast, I'll give him that. But got to give it to Lo Pretorius, Stormfalloon, and Devin Smith. They started on the OR3 gate, one gate behind me. And yeah, they came past me like I was standing still as well.
But it was good at the beginning of this year, wasn't it? Like, because we were like every 2 weeks we were smashing something, and it did look like you were going to be purely focused on just pinning it. I think those days of you racing everything have kind of gone, and you're focused on trying to nail down the big championships now. I think I was right with that one. Hey?
Yeah, no, so last year we kind of jumped a bit more to the off-road side because I was still a bit short for the bike last year for doing enduro and stuff, so I couldn't get my feet to the ground. But now this year, we had the mindset of going in to do the national off-roads, do the national enduros, GXCCs and EWXCs and whatever else I could. I wanted to race as much as I could this year. And then at the national off-road in Lesotho, the off-road day, the first day, it killed me. I wanted to do the enduro the next day. I wasn't fit enough. So I sadly missed that one. But yeah, still, I want to do everything I can. Motocross is also a bit of a different story. I want to do a few races there, but more my stuff's off-road and enduro. So yeah.
We are starting to see you guys run a little bit more motocross for training. And I know a lot of the guys that race the GXCCs, and most of the guys that are a little bit older than you find it very difficult to actually put in the full time to get that off-road training and off-road speed going. So like a good pal of mine, old Brucey Fullion, every Wednesday he just goes and smashes out an afternoon on motocross track, and he says that's what I need to get the intensity going. And it seems like a ton of the off-road guys are getting more motocrossy in their training and prep for the GXCCs and off-roads.
Yeah, no, so I've always enjoyed motocross. Since I was on 65s, I loved riding the tracks. I never really rode it to race or anything, but now getting onto the bigger bike and everything, doing motocross as training is key to just getting to the top of your class, I guess. And it's fun riding with your friends on a motocross track, racing them. It doesn't get better than that.
It seems like there's a little bit of a bromance happening with you and Dav Cocker as well, because you guys tend to hang out a hell of a lot, and I can see both of you kind of feeding off each other and just enjoying riding with each other and pushing each other. So even if you're out on the mine dumps or something, I know he's rocking the 250 now, but you must have taken a lot of what he taught you from the 125s, because it's definitely improved your riding since you guys have been kind of hanging out and teammates and all that.
Yeah, no. So beginning of last year, Dave and I became very close, like friends, and we decided to train a lot together last year. And now he's staying there by Kyle McKenzie, which is just up the road from me, and we see each other very often. Since lockdown started, not so much, but we've been riding together quite a lot, and oh, him and Carl McKenzie as company is just great as well.
And then talk to me then about round number two. Round number two was, yeah, for the 125s, I'm sure we were a little bit worried for you guys because we checked out on the recce for the TV crew and there was big, long straights and super highways. So we thought maybe one or two 125s were going to blow up, but, well, they did, but thankfully yours didn't.
Yeah, coming to round two, we got there and someone told us there's like a 2 kilometer straight. And I was like, I know Fochville's a fast race, but at 2 kilometers straight, my bike's going to have a bit of a struggle today. But you see, that race, I remember you guys doing an interview with me saying, how key is the whole show? And I said, it's the best thing you could ever get for a dusty race like this one. And I was dead dinkum got like almost last off the start line. So I had to work very hard that day to get back into first. Eventually I did, but with the long straights and everything, Bernard Besaidenout, I think that's his name, not too sure.
Yeah, you're right.
He was going very fast that day. I'll give that much to him. He gave me a run for my money that first lap. Only passed him like very close towards the end of the first lap. But then once I passed him, I knew it's time to hit the hammer down because John Buerter, he had his tire issues come off, and Carl, I saw him right into a fence and then he seized. So I knew it was time to put the hammer down and just pull away from these guys.
I got to ask then, down that 2.3, exactly, 2.3 kilometer straight, did you ever you'd obviously maybe pass some guys on some of the tech and then you just hear this beast of a bike coming from behind you? Who gave you the biggest scare down that straight?
I must think back now because we actually on the start line, the OR3 guys, they had a bit of an incident on the start. So we had to wait a while for them to get the mess sorted up so we could go again. But once we did start passing them, I think Bruce Viljoen came past me on that straight, and I think I nearly rode into the fence next to me when he came past me because I got a huge fright with that big 450 or 500, whatever he has when he passed me. That was scary.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Oh man, it's just so cool to look back at these races, hey, and think about what we were doing. You don't think it's that long ago, but Fockville was like 3 months ago, man. I can't actually believe it.
No, it felt like, I won't lie, it feels like a long time because we haven't been racing, but if you just think of racing in general, it doesn't feel that long, but that 3 months, that's actually crazy.
Have you been watching all the stuff that the guys have been doing overseas? I mean, I've been keenly watching what's been happening in the US with obviously our sister tour, the GNCCs. They've gone back to racing. I think they've had 2 rounds of their series under new safety protocols, and the stadium's full of absolutely no one watching Supercross. It's so weird, man. It's so weird.
Yeah, and I've also been watching a lot of the GNCCs and Supercross. I won't lie, I'm very jealous of GNCC getting back to racing while we're still here stuck at our houses and doing nothing much. But yeah, I hope we can get racing soon with spectators, obviously, because I won't lie, I like the support and everything that goes around in the pits and the vibe and everything of off-road racing.
Yeah, man, we can't wait for it. Matty, we'll wrap up there. It's been cool to chat to you, and obviously hope to see you guys out there. And even if we don't go racing in the next couple of weeks, we're going to come out to the motocross tracks just so we can see you guys in the flesh. I'm going to hand across to you to give a high five and a thank you to everyone that supported you out there along the way. And if you want to shout out to anyone to come and rub elbows with you on the motocross track, go right ahead.
Thanks. No, Matt, I'd just like to thank Uncle Grant from MCA for all that he's given to the team and myself. He's given us great support and great feedback and everything. Whole Shot Motorcycles for looking after our bikes and everything. Michelin Tires for keeping us on the ground and going with good grip. And Auntie Margie for killing us the whole year round, but keeping us fit as well.
Yeah, man. It's It's tough. It's tough to know how to stay racing fit. A lot of guys that I know say, there's no better training than racing, and it's going to be very difficult to. I think it's going to be very difficult to beat Ian Rawle and all those guys that have been staying on farms. They've been turning the laps every single day.
Yeah, no, I wish I lived on a farm now, because geez, those oaks are going to be flying when you get back to the racing now.
Well, thanks, Matty. Thanks again for joining us, and can't wait to see you when we go racing once again. Cheers, pal.
Thank you, Matt. It was good talking to you. See you. Bye.
All right, so that's Matti Wilson, our man to beat on the 125 high school gate. Now we get ourselves ready for one of the future stars of quad racing. He's focused at the moment on racing on the Farm Jam Tour. He just started moving up into the pro categories from racing the amateurs from the last couple of seasons. Clayton Buerta joins us next week on the show as we talk about the big step up from the amateur ranks to the pro ranks and who he is going to be able to race up against, and if he'll be able to get onto the wheel of his championship rivals in the future, people like Gideon Jakob. So that's going to be next week. Clayton Buerta joins us live on Lockdown. Tune in to talk about one of the future quad racing stars on SA soil.